What's up? How's it going? One of my favorite thought experiments recently is to imagine that I'm in a simulation, like some sort of video game scenario, but that it's not my game. That my whole life is artificial, and all the complexities and details and annoyances and events in my life are just sort of backstory. So I will appear extra realistic when the actual player of the game finally meets me, or just even runs into me, or not even runs into me, just walks by me. What is up? What is happening? Welcome to another show. It's the show of truth. Or is it the show of fake? It's one of those. It's hard to say. Looks like we got a shout out here in the chat. It's good to hear from you, Quietly Dying. Quietly Dying says he's here. That's awesome, dude. Totally. Wait. Awesome. It's good to have you, dude. It's good to be on the show. It's good to be doing the show. And there's a bunch of things that I wanted to get into, so we might as well just dive right in. Let's dive in. Let's go to the internet. Bam! Now, this was just sort of making me laugh. I thought this was a really awesome animation, and I wanted to show it to you guys, right? Arctic shock. Apparently, yeah, the permafrost is melting, and they did a quick study and found that there's 2 million. 2 million, that's a big number, right? Scary big number. There's 2 million hotspots in the Arctic, and everything is melting and falling apart. And I would definitely expect this to come into play probably in the coming years, as these cataclysms start to sort of overlap, and we lose our ability to really sort of keep control over society. But this is definitely going to be a big factor, right? I'm not going to actually play it. I'm just going to scrub it a little bit. Maybe can we go full screen? Let's risk it. So, right, they're going to tell us all the crazy stuff that's going to happen when the permafrost melts. And also, don't forget, it's your fault. Your fault personally that this is happening as we go through this. I'm talking to you, not the other guy, not your friend, you specifically. So the issue, right, is that obviously, we got plants, we got cool stuff going on, we got houses up here, but down below you got the permafrost, you got this layer of permanently frozen stuff. But obviously, we had too many cheeseburgers and drove too many Escalades, and now the permafrost is melting away. Again, all of your fault, completely your fault, nothing to do with any sort of natural cycles. It's all built into the guilt shame paradigm. So that's going to shrink away, and we won't really notice it at first because, right, we're just going to have plants are growing. We're all good up here. We're all good at the top. Who cares about permafrost, right? It doesn't really matter. But then we go over here to this other side of the world, and we see, oh, damn, ice sheets are melting. Now, this part, I don't really see what it has to do with the permafrost, but we see, right, they're melting over there. Bad times. Oh, this is melting away too. Well, I guess that's going to destabilize this whole section. Well, but how are we going to... What are we going to do, guys? It's all going to everything seems fine, at least right now. Oh, until it isn't. Dude, that could have been your house. What if your house was like a little bit closer to the water? It totally would have been in the water. And then this truck that's driving, right? Just a chill truck. He's trying to just deliver those cheeseburgers that we love to eat, and just minding his own business. But damn, while he's driving the permafrost, oh shit, it's all gonna collapse. And then, well, at least he wasn't on the bridge. Otherwise, this guy would have been totally dead, totally wrecked. So, I definitely pirated this infographic from these guys, but I hope it makes it very clear to you what's actually going on in the Arctic. Now, just to bring some truth back into all of this, yeah, pollution and all of that stuff is definitely bad. We should stop throwing antifreeze into rivers and that type of thing. But still, I'm not quite convinced that we have this much power over the planet. Right? And that's obviously a controversial thing to talk about, depending on who you're talking to. But yeah, a lot of people seem to be pushing towards this grand solar minimum concept, this idea that there are much stronger forces in nature and in our sort of system that we have here with the sun and all the different things that we do, and that yeah, all of the cheeseburgers and cars we could drive, and it has an effect definitely, but not this type of effect. But wouldn't that be a great bait and switch if you knew something like this was coming on the way, that it was unstoppable, and that it was going to have very dramatic effects? Wouldn't you co-opt that whole event and make it so people do what you want them to do or have been wanting them to do for a long time, and then you just sort of use the event to push everybody in that direction? I mean, yeah, honestly, that's probably what I would do if I was in that position. You're looking around, you're like, well, there's got to be this big astrological event, but we still want everybody stuck in that guilt shame paradigm. So why don't we just combine it? Why don't we use both of them? And right, obviously, if you do charts going back to 1980, then definitely, yeah, things have been getting less. But this is obviously a very small time scale to be studying, and not really on the magnitude of the millions of years that these cycles end up getting created and affected on. So I don't know what you think about all that, but just keep your guard up, because I definitely think this whole permafrost thing is going to come in hot and heavy in the coming years when flooding is increasing, and yeah, they'll take no chance missed to remind you that it is indeed your fault, and that yeah, shouldn't have had that last cheeseburger. So now I have a couple articles here just talking about womankind, yet another sort of controversial taboo subject these days that I guess we're supposed to just observe and watch and not consciously discuss or process any of these things that are happening, like the increasingly powerful role of women in our society. Obviously, a good thing for many reasons. But just like the permafrost deal, there is a chance of co-option. Is that a word? Co-opting. They can actually take something that is going to be good, that would be a good movement, and co-opt it, obviously, for a larger agenda. One of those agendas may be depopulation, right? Getting people to have less kids. And so yeah, I don't know, if you take a step back and you say, well, I want the society to have less children. There's too many children everywhere. That's super annoying. What should I do? Well, it's obviously good to have a family, but the one you really need is the woman. The woman needs to actually make the baby. They need to take time out of their lives and just go ahead and make that baby. And And obviously, you can have a career and do a bunch of other stuff in your life, but oftentimes it gets to the point in a woman's life where they do need to make a choice. Do they want to keep working at their job, or maybe they have a job that'll let them take a break and have that baby? But yeah, obviously it's going to be a major event and things won't be the same afterwards. So I think a lot of women are being forced to make that choice these days. And right, if you compare that to a society where it was just sort of a given that the woman was going to stay at home and make kids as long as they were physically able, then obviously that society is going to produce a lot more people because half of the society is there doing that thing with the baby making. Right, and not to say that either one is good or bad. It's just pretty obvious to me that if you elevate women and put them as the people to follow, the people to lead, the people to be in charge, that obviously there's gonna be some effect on baby making there. I don't know. I think that's a little hard to deny. So obviously, yeah, it's great to have women out there in fake space. I mean, getting good acting jobs. I mean, going on spacewalks. Obviously good to have women out there and represented. But it's the kind of thing that would, yeah, push maybe some younger girls that are looking at this to say, well, yeah, I don't want to make stupid family. I want to go to space. I want to do awesome stuff with my life. And it's obviously good. Go to space. Go conquer the universe. The male sex obviously doesn't have a monopoly on living expansively, but it's still, I think, hard to deny the effect that this will have on population growth. So here's another related article from the New York Times, right? Unmarried happily ever after. And I'm not even going to look at the article, but the tagline is being single isn't a bad thing. In fact, many women prefer it. And yeah, is this? It's actually in top stories. This isn't even listed as an opinion piece, right? But it's the kind of thing that it works very well on impressionable people when you see this. In fact, many women prefer it. And so, right, if you're a woman, you may be asking yourself, well, am I one of those many women? Is there something that those many women realize that maybe I'm missing? Maybe I'm wasting my time with this stupid boyfriend. Like, maybe I should ditch him and just, yeah, do what this lady's doing. Just chill on my computer. I got a dog, and things are awesome. Yeah, you get to just put your feet up and live your life. Maybe charge your phone. Maybe eat some oranges and right, just have this blissful look on your face constantly. And I don't know. I have to admit, I've fallen into this crowd as well. I may or may not be a female, but I have been single for quite some time, and yeah, it's not so bad. You definitely get lonely, but you have so much time and space to do other things that maybe you wouldn't be doing because you'd be yeah, hanging out with your significant other. And right, if it's something in my mind and it's something that I'm experiencing, there's a high probability of millions of other people that have come up in the same society, that they're thinking the same way and having the same events funnel them into a certain direction in life where maybe it is going to be less direct social interaction and more just, yeah, spending some time with your devices. And obviously that is going to also have a negative effect on birth rates. That if women are being encouraged, yeah, it's no big deal to be single. You should just go lifelong single if you want. Then obviously that's going to also push birth rates down. If you compare it to a different society like, I don't know, maybe India or something more traditional where apparently that's all the parents ever talk about is getting you married and getting those kids started. That right? If you compare again those two societies, which one is going to have more kids? I think it's pretty obvious. No, I don't really want to get into this subject right now. Good old lime, the beer where you put the lime in it. But yeah, this story is obviously continuing and is going to, I think, ramp up at least a couple more times because there's just so much potential here for guiding society and changing it into, yeah, the image that we're hoping to have so we can all just live in that beehive together and not bother each other. There's just too many lessons to be learned from this a large scale event like this, and I definitely don't think we've seen the last of it. Yeah, expect something to happen in America, and yeah, us to have some sort of other response, different than the Chinese actually. Yeah, I was just listening to some feel sad story about people being stuck on the cruise ship and then almost waiting out their quarantine and then them finding infected people and then them having to come back to America, go to an army base and spend more weeks in quarantine. Obviously problems happening here, and a solution is going to be presented sooner or later that will hopefully circumvent this. You know, be it the universal vaccine or better surveillance or whatever it is. Yeah, there's gonna be a way, I'm sure, to track stuff like this before long. Quick ways of testing it, and yeah, that's gonna obviously change society very deeply when yeah, you not just your image and your walk and your presence outside, you know, through geotagging and other sort of technological things, but if they'll actually start to use biosensors to sense that, you know, if this person or that person has a disease, and then it throws off some alarm bells, and then you get captured in the subway and hauled off to quarantine because you weren't supposed to be there. You obviously should have known. You should have done your home test to see if you had it or not. And now you're going to pay a big fat fine and maybe go to jail for infecting other people. So I see that as possible. I definitely see that as possible. And this just I thought was also pretty dark and related to this whole push towards everything just being better and efficient and kinder to the environment. Apparently, it's not so good to burn up bodies. It takes a bunch of energy, yeah, carbon, all that kind of stuff. And they found that, yeah, there's a company, I did read this article, a company that is, yeah, trying to just compost humans. I guess they just leave them in this box and let them rot away into the soil. And then I guess, I don't know, throw that in a landfill later. I don't know what they do with the stuff afterwards, but yeah, they're finding that if they just let it compost there, that it's a lot better for the environment. And yeah, for certain people, that's going to be enough to for them to change their will and burial plans and move over to this. But right, even in death, we're going to have to really watch our carbon footprint. And yeah, I don't know. I hope you can see where all of these things are pushing us, where everything is headed towards. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with people not knowing what you're doing or where you are at certain points in the day. It's gonna be really hard. It already is really hard to do that, but I think it's gonna be next to impossible pretty soon. Now here we are. We're getting to our title article. I had to talk about this, but before I do, I just wanted to say hi to. Wait, let me look at this. Jersey Linda. It's good to see you, Jersey Linda. I hope you're having a good day, and I hope your life is going well. You know, as well as you can hope. So I'm glad you're here on the stream. It's good to see you. Yeah. So, anyways, disclosure has been trying to get rolled out for quite some time. And this, especially the UFO alien whole story, makes me realize how patient these guys are, how long the timescales are that they're willing to work on. That agendas and ideas may become multi-generational events, and that's not that's not a like a what's the word, like a block, a reason to not have a plan or to try and execute the plan, right? Which also makes me just think about the nature of the ruling class and the government, because this is the kind of thing where the agenda needs to survive through a coup and a shuffling of, a complete firing of the entire department and a rehiring with all new people, and the agenda still has to push forward and not have anybody pushing back or trying to get it in the wrong direction. Obviously, yeah, you can have some setbacks, but the end goal stays true, stays solid. And my question to you is, how does that actually happen when the agendas get longer than human timescales, right? When we're talking about stuff like, who knows, the internet, like we were talking about the other day, or the this sort of global human registry, the mark of the beast, as some like to call it. These are all things that yeah, a lot of them are still just midway through. It could be another 50 years until some of these things really get locked down. But I don't see those agendas slowing down in any meaningful way. Uh, yeah, and obviously it's a complex, multi-pronged approach. Something like this, trying to get people to believe in aliens, it takes a long time. And I often think of that study that they made after Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, where everybody was like absolutely losing their shit. That I guess it was the Brookings Institute, one of those institutes, did a study saying that if you did do disclosure back then in the 1950s for reals, that everybody would basically lose it. There'd be riots in the street, and you wouldn't be able to regain control on society. And I guess the War of the Worlds itself was a test of that, and obviously freaked some people out. But yeah, it's a different time now. We've moved incredibly far from that era, and it's been a lot of things, right? The absolute, like, just the soaking of the culture in all things alien and extraterrestrial and space. Ever since that event happened, right? You think of the 50s and Orson Welles and all that coming down, and then as soon as the 60s, isn't the 60s when Star Trek started? I have to look that up. It was Star Wars, the 70s, and it's gotten more and more intense, it seems, with every day. The alien content, be it news articles or the X Files, or just sketchy YouTube videos of found footage and all that kind of stuff. It's just, we are inundated these days, and I think now we're running into the opposite problem as far as disclosure, that people are releasing stuff. They're bringing out information that basically says, yeah, the government is researching this stuff. They're into it, super into it, and they want to tell you all about it, but they know they're not supposed to. And that keeps getting leaked out. I think everybody at this point knows in some vague form, whether they actually read the New York Times report and listened to that guy's interview. When was that, last year, when that was all coming out? I think we all know deep inside that there's aliens, right? And this all comes with the caveat that maybe the whole thing is been staged and faked, and is really just sort of a hide for interdimensional beings. And also, as with the climate change and all that other stuff, just another institution that they're setting up to create control. So right? If the aliens finally do come down and talk to us and say cool things, if if the aliens come and say, "Bros, your carbon footprint is crazy. You got climate change going on nonstop. You gotta stop all of this." That's gonna be my first red flag to be like, "Well, aliens, don't you know about the solar cycles and all of the other factors come out?" Like, yeah, aren't you going to tell us that the governments of the world are hoaxing us on this whole climate thing? So that's right when that moment comes, when the aliens come down and say, change your ways, change your climate, then obviously that's going to be red herring for me at least. But I do want to get into this article because it was interesting, right? Now, again, if this really was some sort of grand, large revelation, then it would obviously be in more publications than Popular Mechanics. I usually don't go to Popular Mechanics for my breaking news, but they I guess put in a bunch of effort into this article. After a year-long investigation, we bust open the files, break through the noise, and reveal the definitive, staggering truth. Definitive. But I definitely read this article and didn't really find any new information specifically. That seems to be a theme with a lot of these sort of shock headline articles that once you dig into them, yeah, there may be some research and some phone calls made, but in the end, it's a lot of information that was already available, but that maybe didn't get the exposure that they really wanted it to. So they have to come back and tease it out a little bit more, right? Because at first I was like, well, maybe they're gonna figure this out a little bit, and it comes in these big parts. It's like a big novel. This is a pretty long article, right? So first they talk about the disclosure. I guess that was 2017 when the New York Times started talking about this AATIP program, and the article talks a lot about how maybe they screwed this up by generating confusion between ATIP and OWSAP, which I guess, yeah, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program, and that these two things were sort of combined. So obviously, yeah, whoever thought of this was not thinking of the PR, because I guess it kind of confused everybody because they were like, is that part of that program? Are they separate programs, or what's going on? But we knew at least that there's something happening in the sky. But then after that release happened, there was a lot of sort of backtracking from the DoD and other groups. But while at the same time, some like forward tracking from other people, right? This dude ended up going on CNN. I remember that. Luis Elizondo, and yeah, former senior member of the Office of Undersecretary of Defense. And yeah, he went on all these mainline TV network things and it was like, yeah, aliens totally real, totally happening. But I can't like disclose specifically, but also believe in aliens. And right, really anything that's going out to the major networks and getting blanketed in it, because it really wasn't just CNN. He was all over the place. He was doing a PR run, and that's the kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I can't get on CNN. I don't have that kind of clout. That's only for the people that know who to talk to get on the segments, right? And then there's a pretty good chance they're not going to actually be disclosing anything really that revolutionary. There's just too many people to talk to and move through to actually get on television and release some information that people didn't want you to release. There's just too many people that are going to find out along the way and stop you basically. So already everything about this like first disclosure just rubbed me the wrong way. They don't really get into the Tom DeLonge thing as much, but that was also part of the story that the former member of Blink 182 was chosen as the spokesperson for telling us about aliens, and I guess whoever was in charge of that program didn't realize that Blink-182 is super not relevant anymore and hasn't been for a long time, and that anything that Tom DeLonge says it would be basically ignored. That honestly seems like a misstep. I don't know if they really chose Tom DeLonge on purpose, knowing that he was going to be a total flop and unbelievable. Right, but that's just the first part. That was their release there. Now, after that all happened, and this guy's name is a big red herring for me because I know that he is deep in with everybody, with all of the big time dudes, and that he's one of those. He's one of those controllers. He's the kind of guy that can call one dude and get himself on CNN the next hour or whatever. He went on 60 Minutes and was, quote, absolutely convinced aliens exist, passionately declaring, I don't give a damn, when asked if it was risky to publicly say he believes in UFOs and aliens, right? So there is this whole sort of back and forth footsie element that they're trying to push, that like, oh, well, people know there's aliens, but they don't want to deal with the blowback. They know that people are going to think they're crazy for saying there's aliens, but right, the craziest thing now would be to say that I don't believe in aliens. I think they're interdimensional beings and that all of this is fake. That's the thing you can't say anymore, right? If you say there's aliens, then you are embraced and welcomed into the fold at this point, and that definitely makes me look around and be like, what's going on here? What is going on here? Damn, and we're already hitting that outro music, and there's still more article to get through. Damn. And every time that music starts, I can't help
myself. I can't help myself. I gotta get in the auto-tune mode. My auto-tune is tuned specifically to the outro music, so I can sing like literally any note, and they all are just like working in this scale. Aliens are super real, or are they? It's hard to say, but I think maybe we're getting tricked into believing something that, well, it's like climate change. If it's everywhere, if it's non-stop, if it's just postered and plastered on everything that you look at, maybe it's like wrong.
Damn dog. Well, come on. We got a couple more minutes before the actual end of the show. I do want to get to the end of this article. So, yeah, Bigelow. You should really look into Bigelow. That's an interesting dude. He's obviously been super interested in space for a really long time. He's the one building those sort of inflatable space hotels that the ISS has been testing out. I expect him to be a very big player as space sort of expands and yeah, more tourism and all of that gets heated up. And right, he wants to make a bunch of money off of space and space travel. So it's obviously in his best interest to generate more buzz and excitement around space. Because wouldn't you want to go to the space hotel much more if you thought that you might see an alien? Obviously, like, you would pay extra money to get the alien looking hotel room as opposed to the earth facing hotel room. But at any rate, he gets all wrapped up in Skinwalker Ranch, which there's just so much backstory here, but you definitely got to look into Skinwalker Ranch. There is obviously some really crazy stuff happening there. That appears to be some sort of like weak point in the interdimensional connection, and yeah, it used to just be some ranch, and then I guess, did he buy it? But there's, yeah, I've seen a bunch of stuff about Skinwalker Ranch. Just, yeah, people just coming in and out of portals and weird stuff. You're not supposed to go there, and it has apparently this bizarre energy. And so he's involved in all of that. I don't know if they're going to really talk much about interdimensional beings, but interdimensional does show up in one of the papers that they write. So right, so just to back it up real quick, Bigelow gets contracted by some government agency to investigate all this stuff, and they give him $10 million to do the research. Well, again, why would you give it to a private company? To a guy that specifically wants to make money off space. Obviously, that's a biased person. Why would you trust him with the space info? But they give him the money, and he comes back with all this research. Yeah, basically proving the existence of UFOs and specifically calling them UFOs, not maybe ancient or advanced technology from a different nation state. That it's specifically something from a different uh multiverse plant. Yeah, no, I didn't really get all the way through all the info that I really wanted to, but I would encourage you to go check out that popular mechanics article. It's interesting, and it has a lot of sort of collecting info. If some of these things are sounding strange to you, like Bigelow Space or Skinwalker Ranch, that's a good place to start to dig through this info. Obviously, there's something weird going on in the sky, but there's also a seemingly very concerted effort to get us to believe and think about weird things going on in the sky. And yeah, that's just my personal opinion. And if anybody's trying to get me to believe something extra hard, nonstop, all day, every day, all the time, I start to be like, whoa, why? What is it about that wants you to wants me to, you know what I mean? Like, why do you want me to think that? Why do you want me to think that? Now I'm just glancing. I know the show's over. I know the show's over. Show's over. But I'm just glancing over the chat. I really appreciate people like Reed Storm mentioning hit that like button, because I honestly, I don't like to push this channel. I don't like to say stuff like and subscribe and tell your friends, maybe tweet about this, because I mean, maybe I should, but it always just seems kind of lame, and there's so much information to get through, things to talk about, that I end up not doing that. So I appreciate when other people mention that. So thanks, Reed Storm. It's good to see you, Melissa Sun Butterfly. I like that screen name. And apparently, Boo Docaturn has seen 3 different UFOs. I don't know if I've ever actually seen something I would call a UFO, but I do have a weird screen memory from when I was a child that I think maybe, yeah, like an abduction screen memory. Or maybe it was just sort of my wild, active childhood imagination. But there is a specific memory that really, yeah, I feel like underneath that memory is a memory of me getting pulled out of my house by weird head, weird extra large head shaped people. Maybe I'm just making that. Maybe I'm just making that up. Oh, we got Veronica here in the chat too. Now, it's been great. It's been great to just hang out with all you guys. I'm getting kind of used to this daily half hour of just hanging out with you guys. I play the keys, and we talk about stuff. And it's I think it's cool. Red Storm. Oh, it's Red Storm. I get it. Well, thanks, Red Storm. You're the man, or woman, or non-binary. You know what I'm talking about. All right. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Wait. My project just froze. Wait for it. Wait for it. Project freezing. Oh, dude. You leave him hanging? I want to give him the bumper one more time. I want to give him that bumper.
Did it choose freeze? Like it's... Come on, Resolve your issue. You guys can't even see the thing. Well, at least I waited till the end of the show to do this. Jesus. Come on, bro. What? Okay, well, I guess it's just frozen then.
Have a good night, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one. Keep it real. Fake truth. Out. Out. I'm out. Later. Wait, I gotta grab my mouse. I can't play keys. Later.